Oh, there he is. What the heck? What did I catch? What is that? Whoa. What is that? On the jerkbait. Is that a giant shad? That is a massive shad, I think. Look at this thing. I caught him on a jerkbait. So check that out. That is a giant gizzard shad. Woo! I can't believe it. I had no idea they got the big. You just pooped all over me, you son of a. I certainly didn't know you could catch them on a lure. A jerkbait, actually. That's insane. Pooped all over me, though. Hey, folks. Captain Mikey from SawGrassBassin coming to you for KastKing. One thing I preach a lot is to always be willing to learn. To try to not get stuck in those same patterns every time you're out on the water. Sometimes you have to be willing to step just outside of your comfort zone. To try throwing something that you wouldn't normally throw because you don't really have any confidence in it. Trust me, that's something I have to remind myself time and time again. In fact, just yesterday, I proved that to myself yet again. I set out to fish a couple new lakes, and as many times as I've done this before, I assumed I knew the conditions. I knew what lures I should be throwing to find success. But I was struggling. I found a little success early on using some of my traditional go-to baits, my chosen confidence baits. First one on the top water. Ooh, he's not bad. He hammered that too. Woo! He's not a giant. Man, did he want that lure. Didn't have the cameras rolling because it's been a bit. I haven't had a hit for a while here. There it is. Woo! Nice, healthy, chunky little bass. Took that large evergreen topwater. Beautiful. But after hours of virtually nothing, throwing all my favorite usual go-to baits, my confidence baits, it was easy to start making excuses. It's been raining for weeks. The water's way too high. It's way too hot out here. They're just not eating. This low pressure system, it's got them lockjawed. I almost packed it in, tucked my tail under, and I was going home to lick my wounds. But then I saw this rod, my KastKing Speed Demon jerkbait rod. Jerkbaits. I never throw them. Even though I know all across this country, people slay bass with jerkbaits. Oh heck, I've had friends on my own boat turn a tough day in very tough conditions into a great day throwing nothing but jerkbaits. I believe the reason I hardly ever throw jerkbaits is because I lack confidence in them. And that's mostly due to the fact that I wasn't comfortable throwing them. It was awkward and tiresome. I really never seemed to get the proper action out of them. I'd get tired quickly. And because of that, I really never found any good success with jerkbaits. Well, here I was looking at a brand new rod that's technique specific, designed by pros for jerkbaits. Maybe I've just been using the wrong gear. What the heck? Let's give it a shot. Always be willing to learn, right? Bam! Second cast in, my first bass in hours. It's been a very, very tough bite so far today. On the jerkbait, baby. Woo! Got a little guy on that mega. Oh, hey. Easy. Whew. There it is. On the little mega bass jerkbait. Been struggling for a while. Picked up this jerkbait. 2 casts. Got a strike on the first one, second one got a fish. It always seems to produce. Jerkbait! Yeah, buddy! I never put it down the rest of the day. All day. I never doubted that in a lot of conditions, not much can beat a jerkbait. And this rod definitely helped me earn some confidence in my jerkbait game. But when the going gets tough, honestly, there's not much better than a jerkbait, guys. What I'm actually using here, this is my Speed Demon Bass Series, Technique Series of rods. This is actually a jerkbait rod designed for jerkbaiting from some of those elite pros. This rod here in particular is only 6'8", and I absolutely love it. One of the problems that I have with jerkbaits is I'm short. I'm a short guy. I'm not that as far off the water as a lot of other people are. And to effectively use a jerkbait, you want to point that rod tip down. Rods that I typically used with jerkbaits were all 7 foot, 7'2". I had trouble doing that with a lot of other rods. When KastKing went to the elite pros to help him design these rods, everyone seemed to want a shorter jerkbait rod. Jerkbaits, they can be a deadly weapon in your arsenal. They can be highly effective pretty much year-round, no matter where you are in this country. But when conditions get tough, that's when a jerkbait really seems to shine. Oh, he's gone. He actually hit that while I was sitting there on a pause. I was just adjusting the trolling motor to reel up the slack, and he was there. Now, fishing a jerkbait, much like topwater fishing. Topwater, you have your different cadences, your different... Apparently, this is a busy airboat lake. Well, as I was saying, fishing a jerkbait, to me, is a lot like fishing topwater. You have different cadences, and the bass are going to tell you how they want it. Some days, they want it to move fast. Some days, they want it to move real slow. And that's the beauty part of a jerkbait. Right now, I'm working it pretty consistently, keeping that thing darting and moving the entire time. But right now, I just paused. I have a suspending jerkbait on here, so it's going to be sitting there just like that. Some days, that is exactly what the bass want. It's actually the pause, that's when they strike. They don't want that fast, erratic motion. When it sits there and pauses like that, they're going to sit there and stare at it and really get a good look at it and make up their mind whether they want it or not. You give it that next pop, that next jerk, bam, they have to make up their mind right now. And that's why a jerkbait can be so deadly, is because there are several different methods that you can fish them. Traditional crankbaits, you pretty much got to keep a steady grind, pretty much dig, 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 and keep digging, and the whole body does that little wobble. But for the most part, it's a steady line, just move around. Jerkbait is very erratic. It has different timings and cadences. That's entirely up to you. Oh, there we go. Good fish. Big strike. Hit that on the pause too again. Better fish. Woo! Look at him in that clear water down there. There he is. Yeah! Woohoo! Jerkbait fishing, baby. He hit that on that pause again, and he hit it hard. Just hit it and ran with it. There it is, baby. Woo! That's why you throw jerkbaits right there. Woo! Beautiful, solid fish. Right as I'm explaining about pauses, that's when he did it. He hit that on the pause. I was literally just sitting there talking, using my hand to show you what a crankbait does. And this guy slammed it and ran away with it. There it is. On the jerkbait, baby. Beautiful bass. He'll jump for us. Nope, there he goes. Woo! Gotta love it. Let's get another one. A little bit about what I'm using. This is actually a technique-specific customized jerkbait rod. This is KastKing's Speed Demon series. This is the Bass series. Technique-specific rods. This is, of course, the jerkbait. This is a 6'8" jerkbait rod. And to get the proper jerks, you really want to have more of a downward motion rather than an upward motion or a side-to-side motion. That downward motion is going to help drive that jerkbait into the water. Drive it down deeper and give it that erratic jerk. With the longer rod, it's harder. You got to be a little taller. You got to have a little more of an angle. Otherwise, the tip of your rod is hitting into the water like that. This is what the pros said they wanted to see in a jerkbait rod. A shorter rod. It's a medium action rod, and it's got a fast tip to it. Much like most crankbait rods, it's got a nice parabolic bend to it. It does have a good bend to it, but it's a fast tip. So what makes this an even better rod for jerkbaits over your traditional crankbait rod is that fast tip. That quick bounce back that really allows you to snap that lure, giving it that erratic action that drives the bass wild. This rod still has that parabolic flex that you really need when fishing with those small trebles. That steady, even pressure while you're fighting those fish, keeping those little trebles firmly planted. Transitioning into a strong backbone to do that heavy lifting that jerkbaits are known to produce. You need that quick snap to a good jerkbait rod, but you don't want to sacrifice that with something that's too heavy. So a medium rod with that little fast action tip on it is just perfect. Right. I'm actually lined up with KastKing's Fluorocoat line here. It's actually a fluorocarbon coated line. So rather than a solid fluorocarbon, Has all the awesome benefits of fluorocarbon, of course, but it has that little tiny bit of a stretch that a monofilament has. Perfect when you're talking working baits like jerk baits with those tiny little trebles. So that little bit of monofilament in here that gives it that tiny little bit of stretch is a great aid to keeping those trebles pinned. You got to remember, when you're talking monofilament or fluorocarbon, monofilament will float, fluorocarbon will sink. Jerk baits are traditionally going to go 3-4 feet, maybe up to 6 feet. If you want to get them a little bit deeper, go ahead and use fluorocarbon. If you want to fish a little shallower, then monofilament might be the choice you want to use. Or go right in the middle, get yourself some KastKing Fluorocoat, and you got the best of both worlds. And I got that coupled up with my KastKing Spartacus Plus. Awesome reel, 11+1 ball bearings. I just think it just looks so sweet on this combo. It's a 6.3 to 1. Enough speed to really catch up to any slack that you got. You're working jerk baits on a semi-slack line generally. And if a fish hits like that last one hit, he hit and ran right away. I needed the speed in this reel to be able to catch up to him quickly. Something in the 6.3, 6.5 to 1. In that range is perfect. When it comes to jerk baits, there are thousands and thousands of options. Every manufacturer has their own version of a jerkbait. Some of them have several versions. Jerk baits, rip baits, slash baits, minnow baits. There's floating and sinking and fast sink and slow sink and of course suspending. Not to mention the vast price range. To each his own. Each one has its own place at its own time. Which one is right for you can only be answered by you. You have to try them out and find your confidence. I have a variety of them, and some will suit certain conditions better than others. But what it really boils down to is your confidence in that lure on that day. So that's just it. Always willing to learn, I took a step just outside of my comfort zone. And by doing so, I taught myself that by using the proper gear designed for a specific technique allowed me to find success using a proven winner that I had no confidence in. And now I have a couple new favorite weapons in my arsenal. Look out, greenbacks! I just stepped my game up again. Well, folks, I hope you did enjoy this, and I really hope you learned a little something. If you're not already throwing them, get yourself some jerk baits. And check out all of KastKing's new technique-specific rods, like the Speed Demon Jerkbait Bass Rod. There are links in the description down below to get your hands on any technique rod you want to add to your arsenal. Check them out below. And don't forget to smash the heck out of that like button and leave us a comment on anything else you'd like to see us film out here. We'll do our very best to make a video out of each and every one of those. And if you did like this video, you're gonna love these. And make sure you subscribe to these. That's it, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of KastKing, I'm building my confidence and stepping it up again. I'm Captain Mikey, signing out, reminding you the future is bright. You keep those lines tight.